is the recap with no cap, Daredevil Born Again, episode 2. Now, this episode picks up right where the first one left off. Wilson Fisk is the mayor of New York City. Yeah, you heard me. Just like Lex Luthor became the president of the United States in DC Comics, Wilson Fisk is the mayor of the Big Apple. As you see, I still got the Matt Murdock shades on. Of course, I'm not really blind. I can see what's going on. Yep, I can see. But this episode picks up with his first few days of, well, I think it's his first couple of days of trying to get acclimated to the office. So his press, I guess this is his press secretary or his cabinet person, this lady, I don't remember what her name is. She's trying to tell him to be more diplomatic. She's trying to tell him, like, to make things go easy. He has to meet with all these people that he might personally not want to mess with at all. I believe she informed him that the commissioner of the police, I do not remember what the commissioner's name is, which bugs me that I don't remember the name, because I really like the way this guy was acting. He didn't come across as a good actor. He came across as somebody that was actually in law enforcement. I mean, he's just kind of like basic. He wasn't like dramatic with his speech, like when he met with the Kingpin, well, with Mayor Fisk. You know, at the funeral of a police officer that was hit by a subway car. I will get back to that. So, Mayor Fisk is there, you know, I don't want to say save face, but, you know, make an appearance and to show his solidarity with the police because, you know, his cabinet's like, you got to get in good with the police or you're not going to last, all right? You're not going to have the allies. So the commissioners basically just like reamed him when they were talking to each other. He's like, I know who you are, Kingpin. He's like, your little games. He's like, I'm aware. He said, you're a whiny kid. He called the Kingpin a whiny kid. He was really dressing down the Kingpin, Mayor Fisk, whatever. And he would just let him know, yo, I'm resigning. He's like, I don't want to have anything to do with your administration being in charge of New York City because he knows that he's a thug. He used the word thug as well. So right from the gate, he's letting the Kingpin know, I see through your bull crap. I'm out. All right. Now, the episode starts off with this kid getting beat up by these two other people on the subway, okay? This older Latino gentleman walks down the stairs. He hears what's going on. I think he saw it from a distance too, you know, because they have those pillars in the subways. You know, in Philly, we have the same kind of subway stations where it's just a whole bunch of pillars underground. So he looked. And the fact that he went over there to help, I said, I called it immediately. Usually I don't make predictions, you know what I'm saying? I'm just somebody that likes to listen to other people tell their story. I'm a good audience member. But I was like, that's White Tiger. Because anybody else would not have interfered. They would have called the cops or like went upstairs and got the policeman or the septic guy. Yo, somebody getting jumped down there. But the fact that he intervened physically, I pinged him immediately. Pegged him immediately. That's White Tiger. Alright, so White Tiger intervenes. He basically stops the guys from beating him up, from beating up the kid. And one of the police officers, well, the two guys jumping the kid turned out to be undercover cops. So the one guy like stumbled and fell and got smacked by the train. And I don't remember, Hector Ayala. I think his name was Hector Ayala. Hector? Or something. His real name will appear here. But it's definitely Ayala, okay? But he was like stunned, and then the other guy pulled out a gun and was like, you're under arrest. Something like, not obstruction of justice, but he's like, wait, you're a cop? He's like, you guys were just shaking this dude down. I'm like, what are you doing? So, he gets arrested. I pegged him immediately as White Tiger. So, Matt Murdock, now, that police officer that was killed by the train, the subway car, since he's a police officer, you know he's getting the whole regalia and his funeral and all this other stuff. That's where the commissioner met with Wilson Fisk and told Wilson Fisk, I'm resigning. I don't want anything to do with you. All right. So there's this snivelly little character that's trying to get close to Wilson Fisk. And he's like, well, if you want to get in good with the Kingpin, talk to me. I'm like this with the Kingpin. Well, with Mayor Fisk. We know he's the Kingpin with Mayor Fisk. So the author of the BB report, her last name is Yorick. So when she was talking to Wilson Fisk, and did she bring up? I don't remember who brought the name Yorick, but the Kingpin was like, Ben Yorick, he's a great journalist. Now, in season 1, spoiler, season 1 of Netflix, Ben Yorick was investigating all these holdings that Wilson Fisk had equity in. And he was going to release a whole expose on the newspaper. Well, whatever the name of the newspaper is. Exposing Wilson Fisk as the kingpin of crime. The kingpin killed him in season 1, Ben York. So this is his niece who was running the BB report. And so basically they have their little, he gives her 5 minutes to discuss how him coming into, the mayoralship of New York and how that'll affect change and social media and all this other stuff. So it was very interesting that this is kind of coming full circle with Ben York's murder, because the kingpin killed the guy with his bare hands. He just punched him to death, I think, and bludgeoned him to death and killed him. So it's interesting where that's gonna go, because these BB reports they showed up in episode 1 and they also showed up in this episode. So Matt Murdock takes the case of I think his name is Hector Ayala. All right, and he's like, the whole city has this guy pegged as a cop killer. So they're like, all right, you're guilty. And Matt Murdock says, I'll take the case. So he goes to speak to Ayala in prison, and he said, yo, I didn't know he was a cop. He said, I did not kill this guy. He said, they were beating up this other kid. He said, I went and stopped them. He said, that's all. And Matt Murdock's like, this guy's a cop. Like cop killers, police want justice for cop killers. And he said, yo, man. He didn't say it like I'm saying. He said, I didn't kill this guy. He said he stumbled and fell, and they were beating up somebody else. And Matt was like, okay, so we got to find the kid that was getting beat up. All right. So this is where the Cherry, I think he's like a police detective. He comes in. Now, Matt Murdock was set up by his legal partner in the first episode to go on a date with a therapist, Jennifer somebody, I don't remember her name. So they kind of hit it off nice. He was out with her in episode 1 when he heard that the kingpin won the mayoralship of New York. Now, when you said he heard it, I was like, there's no way on earth you could have heard that from outside. So I almost felt like he kind of gave his identity away, but whatever. So now she told Matt, I can't meet with you tonight because I have to meet some new clients. Her clients turned out to be Wilson and Vanessa Fisk, which is crazy. And another thing about Wilson Fisk as mayor, he pointed out 3 vigilantes, because he basically gave an address to New York City. He said, we will not tolerate vigilantes. We will not tolerate any form of vigilantism. He said, I don't care if you run around with a skull on your chest, Punisher. He said, I don't care if you run around as a spider, Spider-Man. He said, and definitely Daredevil. All right. So I like how Spidey was kind of thrown in the mix there, because he is a arch rival of the Kingpin, and the Kingpin is an arch rival of Spider-Man. So eventually, Matt Murdock gets word of the young man that Ayala was trying to save on a subway car from the 2 cops. But Matt Murdock asked Cherry, the detective, to look in on things, because he said, all right, because he was listening to his heartbeat as he was talking to him. And he said, Ayala, he said, he's not lying. He said, but he's hiding something. He said, there's more to this. So Cherry goes and investigates in Ayala's apartment, and he finds the outfit of White Tiger. So then Matt Murdock meets with Ayala again. He said, why didn't you tell me you were the White Tiger? He said, you're a vigilante. He said, now people definitely want you in jail. And he said, if I found out that, you're the White Tiger, he said, it's only a matter of time before these other guys find out. He said, so you got to come clean with all this. So this was excellently done. Matt Murdock, goes to the kid's apartment that was getting beat up. And it seems like as soon as he gets there, the kid is very aversive. He's not really saying what was going on or whatever. But he basically told him killers are on their way here to silence you, because they have, White Tiger pegged as a cop killer. So then they storm the apartment. The kid escapes through the fire escape. They break in, and Matt's there, with his walking stick doing his blind act. He really is blind. Then they beat the stuffing out of Matt. But Matt, as soon as his blood hits the floor, I think, I hope I'm remembering correctly, his instinct kicks in, and then it's just a brouhaha, a fight. You know what I mean? So we're going to end it right there, the recap with no cap. Personally, I like this episode better than the first one, This one kind of had its own identity. It wasn't kind of reaching back to the Netflix series, with Foggy and Karen. But this one kind of stood on its own. You see Wilson Fisk getting acclimated to being the mayor of New York. Like in the beginning of the episode, it was like a traffic jam, all because like there was a hole, like a sinkhole in the middle of the street, and the workers weren't working because there was something wrong with the contracts. So Wilson Fisk gets out of the car, walks up to the hole and says, "I got you when it comes to the finances to get this hole fixed." So immediately the construction workers are like, "Yo, we got some money, we got a contract, let's get this hole filled." So then this creates a big gathering. Everybody comes around the mayor, and he says, "Fisk can fix it." And I like the fact that they use "fix it" because of Joe Fixit. So interesting, Fisk can fix it. But anyway, that's going to do it here for the recap with no cap. John Bapp, for this episode, I think it's a little bit better than the first one, but same grade, okay? Because in school, usually 80 to 89 is a B. So if last episode 1 was probably an 84, I'll probably get this one an 88. So same grade, but just a little higher, all right? So B for episode 2. I definitely want to see where this series is going. I like the way things are sort of panning out. I was trepidatious when I watched the trailer because the MCU does not have a lot of... How do I say this? The live action series have not really been my cup of tea. And again, the MCU, they're sort of in a valley right now. I think this series is one where they can kind of reach a peak again. Peaks and valleys. Right now they're kind of in the valley. I feel like they're kind of coming out of the valley. I'm just being optimistic that way. But then again, this is the recap with no cap. B for episode 2 of Daredevil Born Again. The recap with no cap is John Bapp. I'll holler at y'all for Daredevil episode 3.